Hey guys, and welcome back to Free Plugin Fridays, where we look at plugins you can use in your productions. Today we are going to look at a plugin from Kiive Audio called the Xtressor Nuke. Xtressor Nuke is the free version of their Xtressor plugin, and it's basically the nuke feature from the famous Distressor compressor, which is basically this all-out kind of aggressive compression side. So they've given us this kind of section for free, and there's a full plugin that has all the features of a normal Distressor style compressor. But I thought I'd check this out because it's free, and this is Free Plugin Friday. We looked at the Poltech they had might have been a couple of years ago now, but today we are looking at the Nuke. So let's just get right into it. Feature-wise, it's very simple. Input, output, release time. This auto gain, which is actually a link control. We'll talk about that in a minute. And that's kind of your analog modeling side. Then you've got a control of the oversampling, which is great. If you need low latency, you've got off. You've got all the way to 16 times oversampling. And I didn't find this introduced too much saturation, but you're not going to get much aliasing there. And then the features that I really love, mix control and sidechain high pass. A and B, undo and redo, which is great. If you get a setting you like, you change it a bit, you can go back. And you've got a bunch of presets. With a simple plugin like this, I don't really use presets. So let's just go straight into the sounds, and I'll show you why auto gain probably should be called link, but let's just hear it on drums. So here's the drums, the solo drums. Now purposely I've taken some of the compression off these drums so that you can hear how that snare kind of cuts through a lot. And you might want some compression on your on your drum bus. So, let's just start here, put auto gain on, and dial it up until, start from the lower, and we'll dial it up until we're getting some real compression. So you can see what the Nuke does. It absolutely just destroys it when you push it up. So it can be pretty subtle. And this is where, like I said, we're going to talk about the auto gain. You can hear it doesn't really replace using the output and input. It kind of gets close, but depending on what you're feeding it, there is a huge discrepancy. Sometimes turning up more gets quieter because it really just links these two. So I would call it a link, personally. I know that it's hard to get really good, accurate auto gain, and I don't expect that. I appreciate some kind of link feature over having nothing at all, because it's a good starting point. But the problem is if you have auto gain off, just so you can say, so let's just test this out. We put the drums on. We're way louder now than the bypass, so I turn it down. But if I want to link him again, it resets this output. It'd be cool if it was just a link feature, and if you started at 5.5, you hit the link, and then it you turn it off, you adjust it, and then re-link it, because each source is going to be different when it comes to that kind of input output actual gain factor. So if it's not doing a clever auto gain, that would be nice. But anyway, that's just a little thing. I'd probably spent too long talking about it. Let's really go into the release times, because this is interesting. They've given us 3 different release times and they sound very different. So we'll drive it up again. I'll get the bypass volume to be similar. We'll bring it back to, I reckon, where it's hitting the orange. Sounds really good. So let's match that output. Now really listen to the ambience of the snare and the cymbals. Okay, normal. Slow. And look at that gain reduction. We actually have to increase the volume for the slow. These are very well thought out release times, especially on drums and a few other sources too, but something really transient like drums. The fast gives you that explosive sound, and that's often what I'm going to use a plugin like this for, that really explosive sound. The snare just like explodes as that ambience, but the slow really just controls it. I'll have a listen again, compare them. Back to fast. Normal. That really brings out the kick. Now this slow might be good on the actual kick, to be honest. But listen to that. On fast, I don't know. Maybe it's not your sound, but for me, I'm in heaven. I love it. It's explosive. Let's go back to the bypass again. The drum kit just kind of sounds a bit dead and lifeless and sounds so much punchier. And that brings us to the two features that I love, which is mix and sidechain. So let's look at the sidechain first. We'll go back to normal because you can hear the compression a bit more. Listen to the low end on the kick. And listen to the kick triggering actually as well. So now we're really controlling the snare, but the kick isn't getting as, you know, much compression going on. So if we bring it down a bit, put it on fast. Really just picking out that snare to control, and that needs the control. So great feature to have. We'll see it on bass as well, because it just allows you to kind of put on drum buses, but really sculpt what you're working on and not let big low end give that kind of too much of that pump. And then the last feature comes in is our mix control. So I'm going to turn it up, the sidechain down a little bit. So there's a little bit on the kick. And this is generally what I do in nearly all my drum buses where I want this kind of explosive sound. Let's use the mix control. So bypass. So now we're using it a lot more subtly. It's giving that explosive character without making the drums sound just like explosions. It's actually giving them that kind of more natural drum sound, but just adding just that little bit of control, that little bit of explosive character. And, you know, having a mix is great. So you've kind of heard it there. I think one other thing you could do is if you just want to control something subtly too, is use the slow. So say the mix is all the way up here. And then dial that mix back in. Just making it a little bit tighter here. It's not that explosive thing, it's just a little bit more tightness. That's why these release times are great to have here. So let's go listen to it on bass, because I think that's something you really want to control. You don't necessarily want bass to explode as much, but that little bit of control is great. So I've got it here on a bass track. 40 kind of started up on something. We'll go with what I've got. I'll show you what I kind of dialed in, and then we'll go through some different settings. Have a listen. Okay, let's turn it on. So we're just elongating the notes, just giving them each more sustain on those sustain bits, and just getting it more even. Bypassed again. I'll turn the mix up so you can hear fully what's going on, but you lose a little bit of those transients. So really dialing in that dry gives you those transients back. Also using the high pass filter, I'll turn it off. I'll bring it back up. Now the idea of the high pass filter here is just for when I'm hitting, this is in drop C sharp. So when I'm hitting at the drop C sharp, there's, you know, a lot more kind of low end going on that string. We don't want that over triggering the compressor. And often what I do is use this with a multi-band compressor so we can control the low end as well. That helps, but it's basically allowing the same kind of sustain without over triggering the compressor there. But let's drive it back up, drive it a bit more, and just have a look at the release on bass. It's very different than drums. Let's go to the fast release. I'm gonna dial back the input a bit. Back to slow. Back to fast. To me, slow is just a lot more controlled. I think normal would work too. Fast kind of comes up too quick and you've got less of this like nice smooth envelope. Again, we're kind of going to extremes here. More subtle differences on bass, especially this kind of bass line because we don't have the transients triggering it. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. That's Xtressor Nuke. Go check it out. Like I said, auto gain, nice touch, not the best implementation, but again, free plugin and it's better than nothing, but it sounds great. This plugin sounds great. It's exactly what I want from a plugin called Nuke. It's that punchy, very aggressive compression. The 3 different release times are simple and very effective. Maybe attack control would be good, but I don't think you need it. And then the mix and the high pass filter, along with oversampling, the ability to A/B and an undo redo, just top it off as a really full-featured free plugin. This doesn't seem like a kind of under-thought plugin. It really is just they scaled down the Nuke feature of their Xtressor plugin, and I guess that is just to show off what you can get with the Xtressor and to bring people to maybe want to try out that plugin too. So thanks for watching. Go check out other free plugin Fridays. We're going to be doing more and more synth stuff soon, maybe. There's a bunch of cool analog emulation free plugins that have come out, but I want to get back into doing some cool instruments and stuff just because it's something different. Those videos don't do as well because they don't have as much hype, but sometimes free little sounds can be really interesting. So look out for them, and I will see you next time.